Something I start indoors that might surprise you is corn. And the reason that I do this is we've had some problems in our garden with moles digging up the seed and eating them, especially the first planting in the spring. So the way I've gotten around that is to start corn in peat pots. I like to use peat pots because they're a big container and I can bury them right in the soil so that I don't disturb the roots of the corn. So that's probably full enough. It leaves me a little head space for watering. Okay, I'm just kind of patting a little bit as I fill it. So I'm patting gently so I'm not mashing the soil down too tight. I'm going to make a bigger indentation. Drop my corn in and just pinch the soil around it to cover. Parsley is a seed that likes to germinate in the dark. It has a chemical in the seed that light prohibits its germination. So that's a good thing to know. And the seed are not the tiniest seed like we saw before. So I'm going to just bury them just real slightly. So I didn't make a very deep indentation. If you think about in nature, some seed just gets scattered naturally, and then over the course of maybe the winter, rain beats on them and they get buried a little bit, but not real deep. And then in the spring they germinate. In order to provide a dark environment for the plants and to keep them moist while they're germinating, I'm going to cover these with plastic like you saw me do before. And then I take this is a piece of black cardboard, and I'm going to put that over the top. Parsley also likes about 65 to 70 degrees to germinate, so that's handy because that's room temperature. So I can just set this someplace out of the way, but someplace where I'll remember to check them often, because once the plants start coming up, I want to put them in the light so that they don't get spindly. It takes about 21 days for parsley seed to germinate, so I'm going to mark that on my calendar and be watching especially close when I'm getting to be about 18 days along. I was going to start some pepper seeds. I was just reading the back of the package to see what directions they have, and they're recommending that I start them 6 to 8 weeks before planting outside. Peppers are a plant that you want to put in the garden after the soil has thoroughly warmed. So I'm going to figure out when to start these by looking at my calendar at when would be my planting date, and then counting back 6 to 8 weeks. That'll give them plenty of time to get big enough before I set them in the garden. Pepper seeds are about the same size as tomato seeds, maybe slightly larger. I'm going to make real shallow indentations. They're a different color than the soil, so it's easy to see where they land. That's always helpful. And I'm just planting them about the same depth as the size of the seed. Pepper plants can be very slow to germinate. If I put this in a 70-degree environment, it's going to take about 3 weeks for the seed to germinate. But if I put them somewhere where I keep them warm, say 80 or 85 degrees, they can germinate in less than a week. Usually, you want seeds to germinate as quickly as possible. The longer they sit in moist soil, the more likely they are to mold. So I want my seeds to germinate fast. So I'm going to set up a special place for where I can control the temperature and keep it that warm. So let's go take a look. For germinating the pepper seeds and other seeds that like a lot of warmth for germination, I've taken an old cooler, a heating pad. I just place the heating pad in the bottom. Now you can buy special mats that are for bottom heat for germination. You can do that too. This is something that I already had around the house. I found a seed tray that fits just perfectly in here. However, this one has an open bottom, and I don't want water to drip onto my heating pad. So I'm just going to take a plastic bag and put my tray in it, and that'll make it be waterproof. I'm going to put my peppers in. Tomatoes also like some extra heat when they're germinating, so I can put my tomatoes in here. And corn is another plant that likes some heat to germinate. So after I put them in there, I can give them a little more water. Just, you want to water gently so that you don't wash the seeds back out of the soil. And be careful not to overwater. Over the next few days, from time to time, I'm going to open this and check on the plants to see if they're up yet. Because as soon as they emerge, I want to bring them out of the cooler where it's dark and put them under some grow lights or in a greenhouse where they can get some sun, and the leaves can start turning green. If they stay in the dark too long, then they're going to get tall and spindly and won't be as healthy of plants.